What if I told you that Spotify has permission to rewrite your music using AI? And here's the kicker, you actually gave them permission and you didn't even know it. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video by a top music attorney who's breaking down this change with Spotify and what it means for you as a music creator. Make sure you stay tuned to the very end of this video because this information is super important, especially as the legal landscape changes with all the new developments with AI. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Spotify's remix feature, this is terrifying. And as we anticipated this, we go, how are they going to do this? Not even sure that this would be legal, because you can't just go and remix people's music and use their art without their say so. And in this case, when you're talking about like AI remixing, well, now you have other aspects that come into play, like people's voices, people's faces, their likeness, right? Depending on the form that you're remixing in. Spotify says it wants to enable listeners to interact with their favorite artist music through AI, and that the technology is already built. So what's the barrier? Licensing. Now here's the thing, we went and took a look because I'm telling you guys, the way they're gonna get this, the way that they're gonna get you to opt in is through your music distributor. They're gonna basically try to do this two ways, but the biggest one is gonna be through your actual music distributor. Now, we went and looked at the contracts because we goes, as it stands in the last couple of months, as it stands right now, could they actually do this and say you already agreed to it? And here's what we looked at. In the terms of service, there's language that says you, the uploader, the music creator, you give your music distributor the right to have your music remixed. And you give the distributor the right to give that right to someone else. Okay, so meaning you've already done it. You've already given permission for, let's say, DistroKid to give the right of remixing.
Man, it's getting crazy out here, man. Did you hear that? You know, that's the thing with the legalities when it comes to these different platforms and also music. They use this language that's just so, you know, all encompassing to really protect them as a business and to just use our intellectual property with, technically they show us, but a lot of us, if we're going to be perfectly honest, we're not reading it at least to that degree. We're not really able to comprehend how far it can go, especially when it comes to AI. I've done a video where the CEO of Suno mentioned that they're just scraping the open internet. So if you post your music even on YouTube, it's going to get grabbed by Suno. If you're using these different distributors, like she mentioned, DistroKid, you're also given permission for platforms like, Spotify to use your likeness to create. Man, it's the Wild West out here, guys, man.
The language, when we have seen this before, it used to be in there as a way to be like, if you send your song over to iTunes and they need to make a little 1-minute version or 30-second preview, well, at the time it made sense because they needed to remix and make a new version or whatever to fairly sell your music, stream your music. Things have obviously wildly changed. Okay, so they're now saying the technology actually now is done. The comments made by, and this is one of the new co-CEOs, Gustav Soderstrom, on the company's Q4 2025 earnings call, which was last Tuesday, land amid an intensifying industry debate over how AI-powered derivatives, so meaning when you hear that word, it's the fancy word for a new thing that is based on something else. Okay, so a remix, a cover song. So derivatives is what that means. So AI-powered derivatives of existing music should be licensed and monetized, and where fans should be allowed to create them. The CEO broke Spotify's thinking on AI music into two categories. The first, net new music created from scratch using AI tools. The second, derivatives of existing music, AI-generated covers or remixes. Okay, so I mean, they're positioning this as like, this is going to be the most incredible fan experience, right? And in fact, I think the CEO says this. He's like, the number one tell of a great fan is that they want to remix your music. And again, understood. That's why we have producers who make a whole career off of sampling, off of remixing, off of doing all of this stuff, because they're fans. That's great, but you pay for it. You license it. It's the second category where Spotify appears most excited. Soderstrom described derivatives' new takes on existing music as an untapped opportunity for artists to make money off their existing IP, noting In film and TV, existing IP is incredibly valuable, but music has so far lacked the rights framework to let artists monetize their catalogs in a similar way through AI. So I read that. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? We're like replacing music supervisors? We're just going to go and for TV and film, we're just going to go on Spotify and be like, I like this song. I like this song. I'm just going to like remix it. But, just going back to, okay, I'm real curious because there's this idea that Spotify now, it's not just a distribution platform to go and like listen to music. Now it's like we're reshaping the framework that this is now IP that is used and that you go here to remix, to create, not just to consume. And that's where this is getting really muddy, especially over the last 12 months. We're seeing that now these companies, they're like, wow, we have a bunch of intellectual property that we distribute. Duh, you're the music distributor. But what they're keying into, they go, we not only can make more money from this, but we actually can exploit the intellectual property even more than we have been. All we need to do is get the little creatives to opt in.
Man, this is crazy, guys. So it's like we're giving away our rights and kind of don't really even know it. The thing is with AI, and I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, is that, with these different tools, it's cute and it's fun. You get to click on some things. And, a few months ago, there were those Drake AI and Kanye AI things and videos that were floating around the internet. We all had a nice little laugh and thought it was fun, but, look at what's happening. These big companies are working with each other to, ensure they're protecting themselves.
So that's why it goes back to this incredibly important part of the conversation, which is I think music distributors are going to be the one to facilitate this stuff. And I think it's going to be in your distribution dashboard. I think there's going to start, you guys will see updates happening where they're like, hey, you want to additionally send your stuff over here to this platform? Just opt in. And it'll have some little disclaimer thing. And that button right there is you agreeing to all the contracts and all the things that are now going to be hyperlinked. We're going to come back to this. All right. I don't want to understate it. All right, moving on. Everything we see tells us listeners want to interact with their favorite music, and many artists want to let them, creating new revenue from their existing catalog. Soderstrom said, we have the technology and capabilities ready to unlock this in a way that is additive for both IP rights holders and Spotify. Reading between the lines of that, they have the tech, their lawyers are screaming at them not to just roll it out because they would just get sued to death. Now, it goes on to, the CEO is like, we're ready for partners who are hungry to seize the opportunity. We think that the ones who get in first are going to benefit the most. And, obviously that's kind of what we saw with these AI companies. It's just always get in first, do whatever, break the law if you need to, because as long as you were in first and now we're ahead of the game and we're making the billions of dollars.
And that's the thing when it comes to AI and business. Some people talk about, the ethics of AI and AI training. And then there's just the pure capitalist business interest. If you have this technology and you know that your competitors are working and trying to beat you out, then you're more than likely going to release it before it's totally ready. It could have some security flaws. It could have some, technological flaws as far as how it functions. And it could just put more people at risk as far as their intellectual property due to the fact that there's that competitive nature of we have to beat out this company. If we keep waiting and wait for all the, the legalities to be correct, we're just going to wait and somebody else is just going to, knock our heads off and we're going to be second place. So we have to hurry up. We have to iterate. We have to develop. And unfortunately, that tends to have consequences, usually legal consequences, sometimes security consequences. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's the everyday person, everyday musician who has to pay the price. But let's go ahead and get back into the video.
All right, so they go on just to be like, yeah, we're trying to work with artists. We need industry partners. The features are about supporting artists, not building around them. Do you remember how Spotify removed 75 million spammy tracks last year? And this was kind of spun as a PR. We did so good with the AI problem and we're removing the AI tracks. And I'm like, I don't think that's what that was. But anyway, just being like, oh, we removed all this AI stuff. So did you remove all the AI stuff? So now we have room for all the new AI stuff that's going to be made using your AI tech. And then Deezer just reported about 60,000 AI tracks are delivered daily, and that's the stuff that actually gets through because there's a huge problem. I do talk to music distributors of all sizes. I work with them, I fight with them, and they just share that the scam of AI music with the abuses of AI music and then
Man, this actually sparks an idea in me. So, there have been those different AI recording artists who, have had the backlash online from the music community as far as, authenticity. And, Kaylani has also pushed back on some of the AI recording artists out there. But with this in particular, this gets me thinking. So instead of the no name AI recording artist, will platforms like Spotify license the likeness of certain recording artists where you can kind of remix songs and create these mashups, like maybe a half Drake song mixed with a half Tupac song or a half Biggie song? You can just kind of mash up all the different voices and lyrics of different people all together. That's kind of what I'm gathering when I'm listening to this type of this information here in general. I could be wrong. I could be on the wrong path, but that's what it sounds like. So instead of AI just being something that's just this make believe made up person, it's going to be in the control of the actual music fans and music consumers. You can make that AI song or that AI album yourself by clicking on different aspects on Spotify. That's what it sounds like is gonna the option is gonna be made, guys. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that that's an option that's gonna come down the road? So let's go ahead and get back into the video.
also coupling it with fake streams and botting and all this basically to try to money launder. It's a real big problem. So I just, kind of in the same vein of like, we want to help artists and all this stuff. I go, but how? I feel like you're using some nice little words here and there, but like ultimately this just comes down to if you're saying it's for fans, it's for their creativity. Well, how are you going to make sure to always put the creators themselves that built your platform, that now are the actual infrastructure? I'm just saying. The potential ability for fans to interact, remix, and create music within Spotify arrives amid a heated debate over so-called walled gardens in AI music. All right, so if you guys remember the fight here, like with Udio did its settlements, and now it's walling off. It's like you cannot download and distribute your AI songs. But with Suno's taking the position, no, we're all about having an open model where you can freely download and distribute and do whatever. It'll be a part of this conversation. I'm curious if that makes a difference for you watching. If it's a walled off thing and people can only do this on platform, they can't go and distribute it. That's not the case. There's ways to hack everything.
Yeah, so for an AI remix music feature, if that's allowed on Spotify, man, somehow people are gonna just rip it off of Spotify and put it on YouTube and just allow it to run amok online. I just can't see it staying on platform. I think people are gonna violate that and then just have the music going everywhere. And, possibly somehow it's gonna be allowed somehow. We don't know, but it sounds good to say we're walling it off. So maybe if the PR gets too bad, we'll see a statement like that. And then in actuality, undercover, it's, AI music, AI remixes and versions of, people's music on Spotify is just being allowed to be, distributed and monetized. But this is interesting stuff, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. How do you feel about these music distributors, these AI platforms, kind of working together to allow the remixing and the recreation of other people's work? Where do you think things are going to go in the next few months to the next year, and how much do you feel like it's going to impact the recording artists and the music creators alike? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit like and subscribe. My name is Desmond A, and I'll be back with more great videos. Peace. Wait, before you go, make sure you go to DesmondASounds.com where you can get free FL Studio patcher plugins, free loops, free guides, everything you need to level up your music production. Once again, go to DesmondASounds.com or click the link in the description. Go there now and totally transform your music production.